It's signing week here at 24/7 Sports, and we are taking a look at Colorado's 2024 recruiting class, which doesn't even rank in the top 100. The Buffs have just 6 high school commits, which puts them at number 111 nationally and last in the Big 12. Mike Roach and Adam Munsterteiger from Buff Stampede join me now to break down this class. 3 of the 6 high school recruits, for as small as this class is, they are ranked in the top 24/7. The gem of this class being 5-star offensive lineman Jordan Seaton. But the bulk of this class is being brought in through the transfer portal, guys. 24 transfer portal commits. So, Adam, what is the roster building strategy for Colorado at this point?
Well, it had to be a unique roster building strategy that Coach Prime took over because of a couple factors. First off, Colorado ranked dead last out of 131 FBS programs in scoring margin in 2022. And so this was a roster, as Coach Prime puts it, was bull junk when he took over. And so he comes in and has the famous Louis Vuitton luggage, is going to join me in Boulder speech to the team and really challenge the guys in that locker room right away. And there were a few guys like Trevor Woods, who is a big part of this program, that have stepped up to the challenge. Even some walk-ons like Charlie Offerdahl and Ben Finiseth have stepped up to the challenge. But by and large, this was not a roster that was built to win. And so Coach Prime had to go to the transfer portal. And the other part of it is he wanted to maximize what Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter can achieve at the college level. Obviously, this is going to be Shedeur Sanders' final year of college eligibility in 2024. And everybody assumes that Travis Hunter will be off to the NFL after his third year of college experience here in 2024 as well. And so you want to build a roster that can win with these guys. And the only way to do that, taking over a program, as I detailed, was so low, is to bring in guys that have college experience that can accelerate the process of creating a winner. And we saw glimpses of that early on last season, them upsetting TCU on the road and them starting out 4-2. But obviously things fell apart. And so it was kind of about, okay, well, we had some success with the portal last year early on, but now we really got to cultivate depth. And really the only way, again, to do that, to maximize Shedeur Sanders' senior year, to maximize Travis Hunter's junior year, is to bring in guys that can help them compete and compete at a high level right away.
I think it's a fascinating case study in building your roster, because we've seen it. We've seen schools try to build exclusively through the portal. I think that it's great. I think bringing in talent that is ready to play immediately is a great part of the portal. But I think what we saw with Colorado last year is, can you fix those front lines? And, franchise left tackles and good offensive linemen, they're not out there in the portal all that often. Like, schools are trying to hold on to those guys. And that's the biggest question for me is, can you home grow some guys? Obviously, with Jordan Seaton in this class, that's a great building block. But I think you have to add more depth from the high school level and develop that depth and do it the long way, build it the long way. And so I wonder, for me, if that portal strategy is sustainable for Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes.
Well, Deion famously overhauled the roster last year in a historical way with the transfer portal. But Adam, you mentioned that roster was not built to win. There were a lot of problems pretty much everywhere except the skill talent. But typically what you see coaches do is they load up on portal talent year one, then kind of taper off, and then they start building bigger high school recruiting classes and find some type of balance. Mike, how can Deion be successful with a roster almost built entirely with transfers?
Well, last year was such a unique year for Colorado with him coming in and kind of all the hype around it. And I think it was a bit of a whirlwind probably for everybody there in Boulder. So I'm interested to see in year two, everything will calm down a little bit. I think there will always be the spotlight on Colorado, right, as we saw each and every Saturday. But everything will kind of calm down, and I think that you got to get those guys to gel. I mean, it was kind of clear watching them, even in the games that they were winning against TCU, they were struggling to gel up front and really come together on the offensive and defensive lines. So, I think if you're Colorado, you're hoping during this spring those guys really come together as a unit, that they really kind of start working together, communicating, because those are, playing on the offensive and defensive line, those are big communication spots. And so I think that, there's always more cohesiveness in the program in a second year. think everybody's been through the initial ride now, and hopefully they come out the other end and say, okay, we kind of know where we need to go from here. And we've got a lot of talent. We know we can go to it. And, I think that the problem with the portal is when you take these large groups of talent, you're kind of rolling a dice on if I'm going to have a good group that's going to be cohesive, or am I going to have a bad group that's going to, nothing's going to work. So hope for a little bit of luck. Hope you got a good group, and hope everybody comes together in the spring.
Yeah, no, it's a situation where chemistry is the biggest concern when you bring in this many new bodies into a program. Now, at least now you had the massive roster overhaul last offseason. You still have a pretty big roster overhaul this offseason, but there's enough people that have been in the program that went through blowing a 29-point lead against Stanford on your home turf, and how much that really affected those guys down the stretch last season when they lost 6 in a row to end the 2023 season. And so you would hope, if you're Coach Prime and this staff, that the fact that there were guys that went through an entire offseason last year that are still in the program, they can kind of help those new guys kind of adjust to enhanced expectations, because last year was really starting from ground zero. And so to have some of that early season success and then have those late season struggles, in you hope that builds kind of that team camaraderie and that leadership to know that that's important going into 2024. But it really is unprecedented what they've done at the Power 5, now I guess now Power 4 level. And so it's not a guarantee, but I can tell you, having covered this program in 2022, last year, the talent was a massive upgrade. And now what you've seen them bring in from the transfer portal this year, it's another massive talent upgrade. So that's a better strategy than trying to build from the grassroots with high school guys and expecting this maybe to turn the corner in year 3 or 4 when you have a Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. So they're hoping that can work itself out. You do see more leadership, more camaraderie. They brought the military in now twice through the first two weeks of spring training to really try to build that team chemistry. We'll see if it works out better in 2024. You would think having a group that's been through the battles in Boulder would help in that regard. But that there's no question that's the biggest question mark when you're trying to build this way in college football.
Now, Adam, Colorado hasn't found its recruiting base yet, but with the move to the Big 12, do you think Texas could open for them? And what might that recruiting identity look like in the future?
I think that's going to be a hotbed for Colorado going forward, especially with Jason Phillips coming on board as their new receivers coach. He went to Houston, was a top-level receiver there, and had 2 stints on Houston staff as a recruiter. So he's got a lot of connections in the Lone Star State. But honestly, as long as Coach Prime is in Boulder, and a lot of his close people that are on the staff, Gary Harrell, the running backs coach, Kevin Mathis has ties to Texas as well. A lot of their roots are kind of in that region, but Coach Prime always says that I love my Florida boys, and they got about 25 of them on the roster already. They didn't have more than a couple on the roster when he took over, and so they've really recruited the Sunshine State heavy. He's expressed excitement for the fact that they're going out to play on the road at Central Florida this year. So, a lot of those guys can play in their home state. And so that Georgia, Tennessee has been kind of a ground that they've looked at guys. Texas, they're definitely going to recruit more in that region. They already were, and now I think that maybe the Texas emphasis is a little bit more fruitful, just given that they are going to play so many games in that state going forward.
Considering Deion Sanders' background, having coached at the high school level in the state of Texas, playing for the Dallas Cowboys for so many years. I mean, I live here in the Dallas area, and his name creates a lot of buzz, but I just haven't heard that much buzz within the schools about Colorado's really hitting these schools hard in the state of Texas. I think that's huge for them. And the thing with Colorado is it's positioned in such a great area because of where it is geographically in the country. Now coming to the Big 12, you can add Texas to a footprint where you could also recruit California, Arizona, Utah, Nevada. All of those areas are open to Colorado. And then like Adam mentioned, Deion's ties to the Southeast, including, the state of Florida and Tennessee and Georgia. I think Louisiana should be a priority. I mean, this is a program he has proven that can go out and win national recruitments. It doesn't matter where they're from, whether it be Jordan Seaton or Draylon Miller out of the state of Texas. But I would like to see them kind of establish a base, especially coming to the Big 12, where you're going to have several opportunities to play here. It's one of the best states for producing prospects in the country. I think they have to establish a little bit of a base in the state of Texas.
Not only are we seeing lots of roster turnover, we're seeing lots of coaching staff turnover, with both coordinators and several position coaches leaving or being hired. And Coach Prime still has to fill the defensive coordinator role. And he's mentioned he wants someone who can help build an NFL-like atmosphere. Mike, how does the coaching turnover impact high school recruits?
Well, I think in the case of Colorado, a lot of the recruits there that are looking into Colorado, they look at Colorado because of Deion Sanders, but you do have to have those relationships with the position coaches. And anytime that you hire new staff, you've got to kind of re-rack those relationships with the kids you're recruiting. You've got to reestablish those with a new coach. Maybe they love the old assistant, and maybe they don't click with the new guy. And so somebody you thought you were higher on is not maybe as high on you at this point. So I think with any school, that's always a challenge. And for me, with so much coaching turnover going into year two, I think does raise some red flags to people at times. I mean, obviously, with a couple of their coaches getting promotions and Coach Kelly getting a head coaching job, that's obviously, something you can't help and something you want for your program. But I do think that people look at that and say, why was there so much coaching turnover? What is going on? So those are the things they have to overcome. I'll be interested to see kind of when they hit they've been around already in January hitting schools. I'm interested to talk to some coaches around here and get their feedback because, like I said, the previous staff, I just didn't hear a ton in the state of Texas or the surrounding region of anybody talking about, hey, this is the way Colorado recruits our high school. And so I would like to kind of hear back and see what's the feedback on this new staff and what are they doing well. There's some obviously established names on there. Deion Sanders he's got a big Rolodex. He's always going to be able to get some established names. And I think for them, they've got to kind of, we talked about cohesiveness as a football team. They've got to find some cohesiveness in the staff room as well.
I think if you're signing more than 6 high school players in a recruiting cycle, it becomes more important because they have been so portal heavy. A lot of the guys that enter the portal kind of cut through the BS, and they know that they could commit to a school and that coordinator could be gone in a week, and they're kind of looking for the best opportunity for themselves. And so to build off Mike's point there, it's committing to Coach Prime, and certainly they want to have a good connection with their position coach, but they're signing up for a program that's going to put more eyeballs on them than maybe any other program in the country, just with the social media presence that Colorado has under Coach Prime, the fact that they were watched so many times despite going 4-8 this past season. And so it hasn't really affected recruiting as much as you would think. Now, they rebuilt their offensive line by promoting Pat Shurmur, and a lot of that was guys wanting to step up to the challenge to protect Shedeur Sanders, despite who was going to be the offensive coordinator. They still have yet, as we record this, to name their defensive coordinator. That's expected soon, but most of the position coaches are in line, so they're at least able to make some type of contact in connection with these players. But it comes down to that meeting that they have with Coach Prime and really selling them on the vision of getting them that exposure that they want. And these guys want to play in the NFL, and what he brings is a exposure that those guys desire. And so it's been less of an issue with that. Now, NIL collective, it's not on the same level at Colorado as it is of some of the blue bloods in college football. And so sometimes they'll get to the end of a recruiting process with a high school prospect or a transfer, and they're just not able to play ball on that level. But for the guys that do commit to Colorado, it's more about playing for Coach Prime than it is being concerned about some of the intricacies in terms of filling out the staff. But they do have most of the staff put together, just have not named that DC yet.
All eyes on Colorado as the Prime experiment continues. Mike Roach and Adam Munsterteiger with the latest. Thanks, guys. And for more Colorado football and recruiting news, check out buffstampede.com. From signing day to the postseason, Adam and his entire staff has got you covered on everything Colorado.